session. I'm going to allow our panelists to introduce themselves and give a brief background. Mike, do you want to start?
All right. Yeah, so Mike Norris, I manage a few producers and I have my own publishing company. So I manage AJ Room, my record. He's A Boogie's personal engineer. We also got a few placements with him. He's executive producing Iggy Azalea's project, and then he's executive producing this new artist at Def Jam called Bobby Sessions. He's doing his project right now. We're actually in LA, and Def Jam paid for the hotel we're in. Um, so he's doing that. I got Jay Scale. He's working on both those projects with him. I got Purcell. He if you know who Tusi is, he's a rapper. He was on that last project. And then Rod Wave. If you heard his newest single called Freestyle, my client Kobe Beats did that. And then I got a few people signing me on the publishing end. I also administer publishing for Young Nudie. I graduated Georgia State last December, actually, December 2019. I walked in May, but I didn't graduate till December. And yeah, I've interned at several record labels, some law firms. I still work with law firms, just whenever I want to like up my game. But I do quite a lot in the industry.
Haley, you can go next.
All right. My name is Haley Oliver. I'm a board certified music therapist. Right now I'm working at a private practice in Peachtree Corners, Georgia. So we work with a wide variety of clients. I work primarily with children. And then prior to the pandemic, I was working in residential hospice care and in inpatient psychiatric. But of course, those things, with the pandemic, we haven't been able to go into facilities at this time for safety reasons. But I graduated from Georgia College and State University in Milledgeville. They're one of only 2 schools in Georgia that have a music therapy program. So I graduated from there. I did a 6-month internship with Metro Music Therapy, got my certification almost a year ago. I believe it was October 18th last year, so coming up on a year, and then started working with them. So that's what I've been doing.
Thank you for sharing that. And Kadeem.
Hey, so I'm Kadeem Chambers. As she said before, I am an entrepreneur. I do have my company called Fifth Quarter, which is basically just a company kind of help musicians find gigging opportunities, as whether it be weddings or any kind of like social events or music festivals, or even like recording session with artists. That's kind of what our company focuses on. And when I say musicians, I mean like instrumental musicians. So, anybody like in that music, in the music department, essentially. A little bit about me is I've been a performer for about 8 years. Most recently, I did do Coachella with Beyonce. I was featured on a Netflix film and the Spotify album, got a Grammy for it. Did a couple tours with this company called Drumline Live. And they kind of just tour the country. It's almost like a Broadway marching band show. Did a couple movies for BET. Did Drumline 2. Did the Quad. I did some TV shows. I was featured in a couple of high profile like commercials with Apple. Did some like conventions with Google. And as far as like artists I performed with, I said Beyonce, Jay-Z, Destiny Childs, of course, and Mariah Carey, helping her record her album. So yeah, I kind of slowed down on the performing end just so I can go and get like the certification to teach, because I feel like there's a lot of things that I learned being in the industry that I don't feel like kids are getting, especially in like our communities. So I wanted to see if I can, get my degree so I can go ahead and help people like us get the knowledge that I learned out there. So.
Sounds good. So, would you guys be able to mention which instruments you play, your primary instrument? Anyone can start.
My primary instrument is actually tuba.
Yeah, Mine is trumpet.
Mine is voice. That's what I did in college. But I also play guitar and some piano as part of being a music therapist. We all use guitar for our careers.
So seeing that you all have had experience with music programs at the university level, can you tell us about how you were able to balance life as a music student? Like, especially since we have like 3 different degrees, music therapy, management, and education. So how did you balance practice time, assignments, social life, stuff like that?
Oh man, it was that was a challenge, but that's one of those, like, if you can do it, life is a breeze afterwards. Like, because I don't know how the program is now, but I know when I started, it was like 12 classes a semester your freshman and sophomore year. Then your junior year, it drops down to like 8, and then your senior year at 6. Whereas most people are like at 4 to 6 the entire time. And then with that, like doing spotlight, we had mandatory office hours for 10 hours a week in addition to our events. Our events didn't count to our hours. So sometimes we would have 40-hour weeks. Sometimes we'd have 60-hour weeks. And then I was also in the military. So it's like I might leave an event and go straight to my hotel and have to wake up. I might leave the event at 2 a.m., wake up at 5 a.m. to go drill out in Marietta. So it was rough. Um, but one of the things one is like I just had fun with it because ultimately I did music because music didn't feel like work. So like the school part of it, I didn't let that get to me. It was like if I want to enjoy my life, I got to get tight with all of this. So I kind of just like the more time you spend practicing, the less time you have to spend practicing. So I got to the point where I could learn all my parts in 30 minutes because I already put so many hours in on my horn. It didn't take much for me to get what I wanted out of it. So I just made sure I mastered my craft as fast as I could so I could really get to the other stuff I wanted to do that was necessary. So like the time management skills that I got from being able to balance those is what has allowed me to be a good manager because I got 5 clients on the management side, 3 on the publishing side. So if I couldn't balance my own life and my own time, I wouldn't be able to contribute at all to them.
Okay, so what would you say was the most difficult part of being a music student or the
The
most challenging?
that time commitment because it's like you got your so you might have to keep a practice log. You might have to practice 10 to 20 hours that week depending on like what year you are, and then you have your ensembles, you have your ensembles, you have your quartets, your private lessons. Like all of that stuff adds up in addition to like if you're taking a class like chemistry or accounting. Like it's like you don't even know which one is more important for you to study for because like you fail either one, you fill out the program. So it's like that stress of like, damn, am I going to fill out the program? Am I going to lose hope? So I say balancing the schedule.
Okay, thank you. Haley, would you like to go next?
Sure. Well, I think as a healthcare professional, I kind of approach everything from that perspective, and I think balancing your overall well-being, your physical health, and your mental health while you're in college for anyone is really hard to do. But especially for a music student, no matter where you go, it's a very intensive program. I don't have to tell you all that, and you're being pulled to so many different demands. Like Mike was saying, it's a lot of demands on your time and a lot of demands on your energy. So I think one of the most important things that I learned being a music student from myself, but also from watching people around me, is to be assertive about what you need. Be open and honest if you're overwhelmed, if there's too much going on at once. The options are at GSU for counseling services or anything like that for students who are struggling, but I'm fairly certain all universities have an option like that. So reaching out if you need it to the resources that are available to you. It's a really unique opportunity to have those resources in college. So if you need those resources, definitely reaching out to them, and just doing the most that you can to make time in your schedule for things that restore you, for playing your own music if maybe what you're learning in lessons is not your favorite kind of music, doing the things that you enjoy. And it's easier said than done, And obviously, if you're working or if you're a parent or if you're in the military, then that adds a whole other dimension. And that's something I was very privileged to not be working or be a parent during college. So I'm speaking obviously from a place of privilege in that. But I think prioritizing your own well-being and putting it on the same level of importance as your work, even when it feels like it's not, is so important, because that's a skill that you're going to have to take with you into the professional world, because unfortunately no one's going to do it for you. So that's just sort of what I feel like was the biggest takeaway for me.
Okay, so what would you say was the biggest challenge for you during college?
I think, and Mike kind of alluded to this as well, is just how many different worlds you're being pulled into. You know, obviously I had classes that were specific to being a music therapist, but everyone has core classes. So you might be in music lessons and ensemble for a little bit, and then the same day you're going and taking a chemistry class or a math class, or you might have a minor. I was a theater minor, so suddenly I was going to do a theater makeup class. It can kind of split your brain into different avenues where you can't really, you're not focused on just one thing all the time. So I think that was the most challenging, was kind of switching tracks every time you went to another class.
Yeah. So with you being a music therapy major, did you have like research papers to do and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we
Can you
had,
tell us a bit?
yeah, so we had classes like abnormal psych. We had to take an anatomy course with pre-med and nursing students. We had practicums, so I had a semester of practicum with children and a semester of practicum with adults. So I would be seeing a client for the entire semester and documenting on them. So I had assessments and notes and all of the paperwork that went along with that. And then I would go over to university course like right afterwards. So
Thank you for sharing, Kadeem.
Yeah. So, as far as like university level, since I'm in school right now, I think that one thing I learned is time management. I think most of them had already spoke on it, but the time management is so crucial, and it doesn't really hit you until like you realize that you have like a recital, and you also have like a theory midterm, and then you also realize that you have to do like oral skills coming up, but then you also haven't studied piano, so now, oh, and you're taking guitar. So I think that for me, and it'll kind of answer your follow-up question as well. But for me, one of the biggest things was, like Haley said, you have to be like assertive, but in the same breath, you also have to be true to understanding who you are. Like if you know that if you have, a week and you're spending 3 days out of the week, using you time and not really like, prioritizing and breaking down like what are the things that you need to be focusing on, like you're setting yourself up for failure. Now, it's not to say that like having you time isn't wrong, but you need to plan it out just like you plan out your classes. So like when you have a schedule, like even now because of COVID, it's a little bit different. But pre-COVID, you'd be on campus, you'd have to consider travel time, walking to and from classes, parking garage, traffic, all these other things. But now that like we're home, everything's kind of right here, which in a sense makes it easier. But I think now during COVID, the hardest part is trying to, I guess, feel like you're still learning, because I mean, I'm like, this may not be your learning style. And I mean, even for me, like I'm a really hands-on person. So it's hard for me to try and like learn something when I'm not physically there. Although I understand I can't be physically there, it's still a learning curve that I have to adjust to. And almost like what Mike was saying earlier too, like eventually these skills that you're doing now, regardless of it being COVID or not, you may be in situations where you have to pick up on a different learning style, and it may not be good for you, but taking it out into the real world, whether you want to work with an artist or whether you want to work, in a recording session or anything, what have you, like you have to adapt. And it's your adaptability that will get you to where you want to be. Because at the end of the day, you have to look at, everyone's going to walk in with a degree. Everyone's going to look good as far as having like the bare minimum. But it's the things that you learning how to problem solve and adapt that's going to push you over and make you more marketable than the next person. So
Thank you. You guys made some really, really great points. So, my next question would be, what was your transition from college to the workforce like? Haley and Mike, I know you guys did internships. So, how did that prepare you for your current job?
Yeah, like internships, they're the cheat code because it's like it gives you all the leverage you need. Because people always complain, like, man, how am I supposed to get this job when I don't have experience? Internships, internships, like you can, like when I was interning, I basically ran things the game. Like I ran the entire intern program. So I interviewed them, I trained them, I even hired one as my assistant, and she went to Georgia State. I put like different brothers that are in the fraternity. If they needed a internship, they had one. So it's like if you intern and you intern well, you have like, so you have a job. Like that's a job. And to me, it's like if you don't get a job, well, this is my personal philosophy. Like mentally, I was like, man, if I don't get a job here, I suck. Like if I'm here for 6 months and I can't get a job, I suck. And so like I would only stay at internships for like 6 months, and I just kept on hopping and hopping and hopping until one of them finally hired me. So like I got my job because my last internship, like I walked across the stage in May, but I hadn't graduated. But I still like told everybody I had my degree because I was like, I'm close enough. It's whatever. I have the knowledge and experience. So I told everybody I had my degree, and then I got an internship like in July. Um, and so I just made sure like at the internship, I'm like, I'm about to make everybody look stupid. I'm finna outwork anybody who's close to me. And I was like, I was just reading and doing all this stuff. And like my first day, like my interview, like I displayed my knowledge because if you interview me, I interview you back. Like I need to see if you're worthy of me working for you. Because some people just exploit your talents and waste your time. So I'm like, I ain't finna do that. Like, who are y'all? Like, I know who y'all are on paper, but who's the man in front of me? So I interview you back if you interviewed me. And that sticks with people. They're like, oh, who is this guy? And when you ask them questions, like you're displaying what you know about that company, you're displaying what you know about your job. Like you're different immediately. Cause you know what I'm saying? And so like I learned that through my internships, just like how to progress and be more and more like an executive. So by the time I got to that internship, I had more experience than a lot of the executives in the city. And I presented myself as such. So when the CEO saw me, he literally saw me because I was reading while other people were on their phone. He was like, that's different. Who are you? I told him, I was like, yo, I'm an audio engineer intern because every internship I had, I did something different. So I could have like management experience, marketing experience, publishing experience, distribution experience, publishing experience, contracts. So it's like every internship, I'm picking up a new skill. So when you look at my resume, I can have 5 years experience in contract reading at 24 years old, and they're like, "What? Huh? How do you internships?" Like, so my resume looks just as good as any executive on paper because I have the same experience as them, but my role was different. Like it says intern, but you know what I'm saying? You can't let that word intern limit you. Like that word intern could you can be a well-paid intern. You feel me? Especially with like closing deals and you're getting commissions. So it's just on how you play it. So by the time I got to like that last internship, first time the CEO saw me, he put me in the room and then he asked the people who interviewed me and they're like, nah, he's different. So he put me in the room. I worked directly under the CEO. I worked under him for 3 months. After 3 months, they put me on payroll and I got my first job. And truthfully, like after 3 months of working there, I got fired. And then that's when I started my company. And when I started like the day after I got fired, I got interviewed by Warner Music. And then Young Nudie, they officially hired me to work for them. I've actually been working for like Nudie for like the last 6 months, but I just put in my bio yesterday. But I started like building publishing companies for a couple labels out here, doing consultations for different A&Rs. I started closing deals, like independent deals with because I interned at all those places, I know the CEOs of all those labels. So it's like if I find an artist I like or if I find a producer I like, I can just text, hey bro, check out so and so. He's looking for XYZ. Like I'll give him like the terms, what they're looking for in the deal. And because it's coming from me and they actually have that experience with me, like they taught me. So they trust like my ear. They trust that I know what's in their best interest. So it's like they're gonna take the time to check out what I have to say. And that's how I've been able to make a job for myself, because it's like management commission is like, you feel me? Like my client makes $10,000. That's a big deal to them. To me, that's about $1,000. And it's just like, how many times can I do that? And you know, so that's kind of how I feed myself. So it's like I have to be able to. I had to have other roles that I can play. So like I'll A&R deals for all the labels I've interned for. Like I pitch people to pretty much everybody. Whether they be producers or artists. And so those internships also help. Like those internships gave me a job. And even though all of them were free, and that's a problem that a lot of people have, like they're like, oh, I don't want to work for free. It's like, nah, this is that delayed gratification. Like work here, give them your time, because a lot people pay for school. If you're paying for school, you're paying for knowledge. Your internship is the same thing. You're getting knowledge. So it's just like you're paying them with your time. And the knowledge that you get at an internship, truthfully, is far more valuable than what you're going to get in school, because in school, like not everybody has interacted with artists, or even if they have, like some of them haven't been in the game in the last 20 years. Now Georgia State does have some dope teachers like Kendall Mentor. He's an active entertainment attorney, a living legend. Like they have some super dope teachers that you should definitely like take advantage of and tap in with, and really like show them that you care about your major. But just like that type of energy, like doing everything that's within your power to do to move forward, that'll definitely land you a job. And really, that's the only way to land a job, because this field is tough. Like, there's people with business degrees that apply for it, marketing degrees, like so many degrees that have more functionality than a music degree does. So, like, if you have a music degree and you really want to play in this game, it's like you got to be special. You got to put in way more work than everybody else. But if you do it, like the reward is way higher. Like you'll get in 1 month what most people see in a year.
All right. Thank you for sharing that. Haley, I know you have to leave really soon. So would you like to answer that question or just take questions from the
Yeah,
audience?
I can answer that. We can push back a couple minutes. So for music therapists, it's a little bit different than I feel like most fields, because we are required to do an internship, which I think is a great thing because it kind of gives you the push to do it. That's one of the requirements for us to graduate and then get certified. So going off something that Mike said about when you're getting interviewed, you're also interviewing them. That's definitely what I found to be true with internships, is that, you know, when I came to interview for the internship that I had, which actually was with Metro Music Therapy, where I'm currently working, so I did end up getting a job with them directly after. You know, as much as I was trying to, you know, hope that they liked me and that they thought that what I brought to the table was right for them, I was doing the same with them. I was going, you know, is the experience that I'm going to get here actually something that's useful to me? Are the populations that I'm working with the people that I want to work with in my career? You know, even down to, are the people here people that I want to see every day? You know, not everyone's going to jive with everyone. So if you go to an interview and it's like, this doesn't work for me, our personalities are not going to work for, you know, 6 months or a year, that's important. Maybe you need to look somewhere else. You know, be as picky about them as they are about you. So for Metro, the reason I chose it is because, or one of the reasons is because they work with a diverse group of a diverse client base, which is not typical. Most music therapy internships work specifically with one population. You're working in the same hospital every day or the same school system every day. But with Metro, I was going all over the Metro area. You know, my supervisor and I would get in a car and we'd drive to, you know, this school and do a group with the kids in the morning, and then we'd go see someone in their homes in the afternoon. And that was what I wanted. But if I wanted in my career to be working with a specific population, then I would have sought out someone who works with that. So I think, yeah, really, like kind of like Mike said, is really looking at, you know, what's the information on their website? What do they do? Is it what you want to do? Or is there enough transferable skill to justify your time, especially if it's something that's unpaid, which most internships are. Is this something that's really worth my time, something that's worthwhile, and something that I want to do? I think that's really important to figure out.
Thank you. So now we will open the floor for questions for Haley, if anyone has any questions. Cash.
Hello, my name is Kayshawn, or Cash. My question is for Haley.
Hi, yes.
Do you ever, being a music therapist, do you ever work with speech language pathologists or audiologists ever with your clients?
That's a good question. We do work often on speech goals. So I work oftentimes with people who, I work with people on the autism spectrum. I've worked with someone who had a stroke and had aphasia from their stroke. Because we're contracted and we're not working directly with, say, like, we're not employed by a hospital or anything like that, we're typically not working directly with those professionals. We may, interact with them as we're coming and going, but we typically don't work directly, like, in a interdisciplinary sense with them. But music therapists often do, if they're employed in a school or in any kind of facility that employs a speech therapist or an audiologist.
Thank you. And SLP is that's my career goal. I used to want to be a music therapist. Then as I started to learn more about it, I shifted more towards speech pathologist instead. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. I hope that you get to do that. I think that's a really great career path.
All right. I actually have a question. So for someone who's interested in music therapy at the graduate level, would it be okay if they did a major in music and then a minor in psychology, or would you strongly suggest their bachelor's be in music therapy?
Well, it's an interesting question because in terms of experience, both of those things are great. To have the music side and the psychology side, there's a lot of people who double or minor. In order to go on to the graduate level, you do have to have the base of having an actual music therapy degree, which is, like I said, there's only 2 schools currently in Georgia that offer it. So there's GCSU, where I went, and I believe University of Georgia has it as well. So you do have to finish an actual bachelor's of music therapy program. However, there are equivalency programs. So we have a lot of equivalency students who come, who have finished their music degree. Some even have master's degrees in vocal performance or music ed. And they come in and just complete basically anything they haven't completed. So you're not going to have to come in and take, theory and oral skills and all of that mess all over again. It's just, you're taking the music therapy courses, and people finish in, a year or a couple of years. So you still have to do the program kind of at the undergraduate level, but if you've had a lot of the courses that you need, the equivalency is not as arduous, if that makes sense.
Thank you. We have a question in the chat from Kaija. She asks, what drew you to music therapy specifically?
Great question. I love this question. And I'll try to talk as briefly as I can about it, because I could talk about it for the entire time. I learned about music therapy actually when I was pretty young. The person actually, weirdly, who is my boss now, Mallory Even, who's the owner and director of Metro Music Therapy, was working at the time in a hospital as a music therapist, facilitating groups in a short-term psych unit for senior adults. I was coming in with my family and some other people when I was probably about 10 years old at the time to do recreational music, right? So facilitating groups as a musician, and she was there to oversee and make sure everyone was safe and all of that. And we couldn't figure out what she did. She was just always there in an advisory capacity, but we were trying to figure out what her job was. Like, are you a nurse? Are you a therapist? What are you? And she kind of explained, like, I'm a therapist and I'm a musician, and this is how all that works. And this is, a real thing that you can do. And from then I was like, right, yep, that's what I'm doing. And so I did the program. I I came back to her when I needed an internship and I was like, hey, when does your application period open? I actually did this thing that you introduced me to, almost 20 years ago. So yeah, it just seeing it firsthand and seeing how much of an impact it can have in a much more, a much less invasive, more non-threatening way than a lot of other medical interventions. Music is very non-threatening. It kind of is a level playing field for people to approach, but still get the therapeutic benefit. So I hope that answers the question.
All right. If no one else has any questions. All right. Thank you so much, Haley, for joining us. I really appreciate this.
Thank you.
Sorry for keeping
me.
you over. Yeah.
No
all right,
problem.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and log off. It's nice to meet you, everyone, and
It's great meeting
have
you.
a great rest of your webinar.
Thank you. All right. So, Kadeem, going back to the transition from college to career, you're still in doing your bachelor's. So how do you think everything you've learned or gained from your entrepreneurship is going to affect you after graduation or benefit you after graduation?
Yeah. So the thing is, being an entrepreneur, but scratch that, being a musician, like gigging in the real world, like teaches you a lot about what you should have done in school. So Georgia State isn't my first school. I was at Kennesaw originally. And then when Beyonce called, I left. And it was a little bit harder to get back into Kennesaw. But I was down the street from Georgia State. So I'm here at Georgia State. But when I was at Kennesaw, like I was, so focused on making sure that like I was doing good in my classes, or that I was, not missing an assignment, or like practicing or working hard, that I didn't really get the opportunity to talk to a lot of people that was in my program or in my degree. And granted, I did, pledge Phi Mu Alpha over there. So, I knew the Symphonians, but as far as like other musicians, like I didn't really get to talk to them like that. And part of how I got some of like the gig opportunities was because I knew somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody that knew Beyonce, or I knew somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody that knew the CEO of Apple, And so these situations had came, and I'm like, yo, like I wish I would have known more people, because there were people at Kennesaw that were getting like these major symphony gigs, and there were like tuba openings, and if I would have like spoke to them, like that could have been a spot for me, and so as far as like that transition from college to real life, I think the biggest thing that like musicians specifically need to do is to talk to each other. Because you never know, and especially like a school like Georgia State, Kennesaw, UGA, these big music schools that have like these phenomenal music programs, you could be in a classroom next to somebody that may have, like that position opening for, another symphony job, or you may be next to somebody that may be a music producer that could get you into a recording session for an artist that you really like, So I think that even when it comes to like trying to fit into the real world, you have to, almost like Mike said, you have to grind for it. Like you have to push, you have to make sure that you're special. You have to utilize like your ability to multitask, and you have to make sure that you're not just honing in on one skill, but you're honing in on multiple skills. So that way, like I said, you're more marketable, you could do more with it. And you can grow from it, because like I said, you never know, you'll graduate and somebody be like, hey, like I was at your recital because I had to go to recital classes, and we had lunch that one time, but it was great, and like I saw you was like a great trumpet player, a good tuba player, and I got this friend, he's a rapper, I don't listen to rap music like that, but he needs a trumpet player. And then you meet him and it could be like J. Cole, So you have to be open to situations like that. You also have to be okay with staying up late, because that's gonna be key. And like I said, the biggest thing is just talking to people, and getting to know, people that's in your class and majoring and, your degree program.
Thank you for that. So you said musicians need to talk to people. So what advice would you give for networking?
Oh, so as far as networking, like if you have like, I think the thing that people are afraid of is to almost talk about themselves. Um, and when I say talk about yourself, it's not necessarily anything that's like bragging, but it's more so letting people know what your passions are. So like my passion is helping musicians find gigs. Like that's my thing. And somebody else may hear that and they may have a similar idea or a similar, thought process and instantly link up with you. And the thing is, like, I know sometimes as musicians, like we kind of get nervous, just because, like, realistically, like if you're not majoring in music education or music therapy or music production, like it's kind of like the saying that you won't have like a job outside of college if you're doing like something like music performance, because like there's no set. It's not like you get a music performance degree and you automatically get a job at the Atlanta Symphony. Like there's Michael Moore has been in the Atlanta Symphony since he was 18, like didn't even go to college. So we kind of get nervous as far as when it comes time to say, no, I'm a music performer. Like I've been playing this, I've been doing this. I think, like I said, the biggest thing is just talk about yourself. Like someone said in the chat, blow your horn. You have to be confident in like the skills that you have, and you can't be shy when it comes to it, because the thing that can make you different than anybody else is that this person isn't shy, whereas you are. And I mean, I like part of the biggest reasons I started this company was because when I was with Beyonce, and it's no shade to none of the musicians there, but there are definitely musicians that I was with at Kennesaw that were far better musicians than the ones that were on stage with Beyonce. And the only thing that separated these great musicians from Beyonce's musicians were the fact that they were aggressive, they weren't shy about what they could do, and they said that they could play multiple instruments. It wasn't just one thing. Like, oh, I could play whatever you need. I could do whatever you need. I could be here at whatever time. They're aggressive, and I kind of wanted to make that playing field even. So going back to networking, like be aggressive, talk about what you do. Don't brag, but talk about what you do. Let people know what your passions are, because you never know like who you're inspiring just, from talking about your passions.
Definitely. So, Mike, do you have any advice for networking?
Yeah, because with networking, you kind of what you're kind of going into, like what events you're going to, and you can kind of have a general grasp of who's going to be there. So like when I network, like I'm very intentional about everything I do. So I'm looking at like what company it is. I'm doing research on them. I'm seeing who their affiliates are. I'm reaching out to my network, seeing like, yo, who's going to be there? Like, and once I know who's going to be in the room, I'm like, all right, cool. I might wear a certain color because I know this exec likes this color. I have like a CSAC notebook. So when I went to the A3C, I knew the director of CSAC was going to be there. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to walk around with this notebook in my hand. And no disrespect to him, but I know he's kind of like a cocky guy. So I know when he sees that book, he's like, hey, that's me right there. And you know what I'm saying? And I knew somebody who knew him. So I already had a talking point ready. So it's just like kind of like going about everything with intention. Like, where, you know, you have a general idea of who's going to be there, and you kind of have a selling point for that individual. Like be as specific as possible. Like, because if you come to me and like you see me and you're like, oh, Mike needs an assistant. All right, well, let me see what his day-to-day tasks are. And you come be like, yo, Mike, I want to be your assistant. All right, cool. Well, what can you do? You know what I'm saying? Like, don't tell me like random stuff that you can do. I don't care if you can take photos. That's not what I need. Like, can you do website design? Can you invoice? Can you do emails? Can you review contracts? Like, you know what I'm saying? You got to like kind of like watch that individual and see what their day-to-day needs are and find a way to add value to them. So like with me, like a networking event, I might prep for one like a month in advance. You know what I'm saying? Like I knew Jay Prince was going to be in an event. I read his whole book and bought a copy before I pulled up to his event. So it's just like, you know what I'm saying? You really have to be intentional about stuff. So it's like, and when you come with that type of research, you come confident. Like somebody's gonna go up there and they're like, oh, I didn't even know he was gonna be here, and then they're gonna try to think of something. Like you come in there like, I'm ready. Like this is an interview. Like that's how I treat my that's how I treat all my networking events. Like it's an interview. As soon as you meet me, it's an interview. But I came prepared, and that's gonna set you apart from everybody else because you don't have that nervous energy. You don't seem shaky. Like they're gonna feel the confidence coming off of you, and everybody wants to work with confidence because it's just like, yo, this there has to be a reason for that. Like let me see what you about, and especially like if you when they talk to you, if they can see it, it's like, oh, you did your research. Like your confidence comes from like your knowledge. Like, all right, cool, I see it, I respect that, and then you get it.
Thank you. So I hope this next question doesn't put you guys on the spot, but what would you say would be the most rewarding part of your career?
Being able to change people's lives, like it's dope. Cause like with me, it's kind of like my thing is I just always want to be able to add value. This add value. And so like a lot of stuff I don't even benefit from. Like I've closed deals for people, I ain't get a penny. But it's just like for that label, like they're like, okay, cool. Like I trust Mike's ear. He's bringing us quality people. And for that artist, like somebody got you $15,000 to $150,000. Like I've seen people go out and buy cars. I've just like changed so many people's lives, and like watching that in real time, like watching them go from recording at home to like now they're in the studio. They're casually bumping into celebrities. They're traveling to LA, and they make everything seem casual. Like they got used to the lifestyle, and it's like knowing what they come from and knowing like where I was able to help them get to. It's like it's like a really heartwarming feeling that can't be replaced. So to me, that's the best part about it. And then being able to do it over and over, like not having it limited to just like the people who are under me, but it's like being able to go to Georgia State and just hear something I like. I'm like, come here, and I can get you in any room. I can get you whether it be a placement or a deal. Like if I feel like you're somebody, you have something, like I can change your life like that. And so like just like having that, it's like it's just kind of like to me that's most rewarding because it changes how I view life. Like it's like damn, like who can I bless, who can I help out, and like it comes back to me all the time. I get random calls for stuff, and people just want to break bread. Like I had somebody book a consultation with me. They paid me for 2 hours, and they talked to me for 30 minutes. So it's just like getting like doing all this good for people, and then like when it comes back, that's even more rewarding feeling.
Yeah, so I think the most rewarding feeling is almost like Mike said, being able to help others. But the bigger thing is watching other people pursue their passion, like because it's not every day. I remember I was working at a liquor store and there was a guy there and it didn't hit me that like when we were younger, like grown-ups were like working jobs that they don't necessarily like so we were talking and he was like, yeah, man, like I've been working at this liquor store for 40 years and I work two jobs and my wife, she works two jobs and the only real time that we have is on Sunday because that's when we're both off. Other than that, like we both don't get home until 2, we go to sleep, wake up and then leave again at 8 or 9 in the morning. And seeing that like people like that like have passions that they're not like fulfilling, like it really like kind of struck me a type of way. um and I was blessed to be in a situation to work with Beyonce and all these other people, and I just wanted everyone to have the same like opportunity. Like it's not about me. Like I mean, like Mike said, like there's situations where you put some people on and you don't make a dime from it because at the end of the day, it's not about the money, but it's more so about like, am I helping this person? And is this person one step closer to getting the confidence that they need to, pursue their dream? Or are they actually pursuing their dream? And either one is fine. But the biggest reward for me is to see that, somebody that, was struggling, trying to figure out if they can make a career out of music, actually, get out there and whether it be gigging or performing or even being an artist, like getting out there and like putting themselves out there and seeing the reception that they get back and them actually seeing like their dreams unfold. So like that's the biggest thing for me.
Those were really great responses. So with us being amidst a pandemic and everyone trying to figure out safer ways to continue doing what we've always been doing, can you guys talk about how you've adapted to working during the pandemic?
Yeah, it's pandemic actually helped me a lot, like because I work in publishing, and so one of the reasons why I picked publishing to kind of like finalize that's the way I make money is nobody understands it. Like there's so many artists who are out here with millions of dollars in uncollected publishing money, and it's like they don't understand because to the labels, it's like if they're making 30 to 40 million dollars off your masters, they don't really care about the 1.5 to 3 million you might have on your publishing side. If you're an artist, if you're a producer, they definitely like they're on it. But artists, if you're not a strong writer, like they don't really care about your publishing. So a lot of these rappers, like some of them have Grammys, some of them have like multi-platinum albums, so they have money sitting there. But because like well, a producer can work with 20 artists, that's where an artist who can't write is only gonna work with himself. Like he's only gonna have his own stuff. Like labels don't care about them. But that's like millions, like individually that's millions of dollars, but collectively like that's tens of millions of dollars for those people that's left out. And so I picked publishing because I realized like, well, I utilize the publishing because it's like when I see, my bad, what's the question? I had a point, but I lost it.
How you've adapted to working during the pandemic?
Yeah. So with publishing, like since I know there's all this money uncollected, I started my own publishing company, and so I started like with the littler artists, people who are bringing in like, because publishing is essentially like 10% of what you're gonna get on the masters. So if I see somebody's bringing in like $100,000 on the master side or $50,000, that's like okay, cool. If I can get 10% of that, I'm looking at $10,000 here, $5,000 there. So I reach out to people and I would show them the numbers. I'm like, hey, bro, you have approximately this much money left uncollected. Sign with me. I can go ahead and grab that for you. And then I already work with like notable people, Nudie. I did it for a whole label. So I was doing stuff for Gunna, Turbo, Thug, Mulatto. So I was doing like publishing for a lot of big artists, Jetson Made, artists and producers. So I already had like the resume because so people could actually trust me with their money because I'm already collecting a lot of other people's money. So I just really like hunkered down on that. And like I said, I just got fired. Like I got fired in February. So that's like I hunkered down on my business. I started working with Nudie. I signed like 3 people in March. And so like one of them, you know what I'm saying? Like he has songs with he signed to 2 Chainz, but he has songs with 21 Savage, 21 Savage, Thug, Quavo, like just hella people. And so I was able to sign him. And that was one of those like good karma things because I didn't have to do anything. Like I literally hopped on LinkedIn, somebody messaged me and they're like, yo, I see you doing your thing in Atlanta. I see your resume. Let's work. I'm not gonna lie, he was kind of corny with it. He was like, let's take over the city. And I'm like, that's kind of, I don't know how I feel about that. But I was like, you know what, whatever, I'm gonna give you a shot. And I responded to the message and he literally gave me the client. Like I didn't have to do any negotiating, any talking. I just sent the contract and he signed it. And so it's just like the pandemic like has led to a lot of that. So even yesterday I was on Zoom with the senior president of partnerships for Twitch, and I've been able to broker a deal for a few of my clients just, you know what I'm saying, through that. So like it's made like high people more accessible. So now it's easier for you, like even as a college student, as long as your resume looks right, you can reach out to the president of anywhere and they'll respond. I have the CEO of Netflix, CEO of UMG, Warner, really like every label, most of the media, like 80% of the media companies in America, like I've added their entire staff onto my LinkedIn. And so I just been able to like really network with them because they're sitting at home on the computer, bored, you know what I'm saying? They get a ping from LinkedIn. They're like, all right, well, let me see what's going on. So I just been really able to like take advantage of the fact that artists need money and take advantage of the fact that like CEOs are accessible, and I've been able to do a lot of good stuff because of the pandemic.
So as far as like fifth quarter, it has been like a little challenging in the beginning because the country was closing down and there weren't really a lot of options as far as the want or need for like musicians. But with the country opening back up, well, kind of sort of, um, more bars and like lounges and restaurants are wanting to have, musicians for like their grand openings or like for like certain events. So I've been able to like hook some DJs up at some clubs and, they get hired on. So now it's starting to kind of pick back up. In the beginning, it was a little shaky. But now, like even when it comes to like weddings, like people are now more open to virtual events, and artists on one hand are more open to like parking lot concerts. And so like I've hooked like a couple of guitarists up to play at some of these like bigger events with some of these artists and get some recording sessions done. And like right now, like we're working on trying to get some more musicians, some more DJs at some of these other places that are more susceptible to having people be there. But at the same time, like I'm kind of looking at the risk and being like, yo, like that's not something I want to risk. But if that's something you want to do, then we can still do it. So this is just learning to adapt to the situation because it's kind of something that nobody could see coming.
Yeah, I really agree. Like adaptability is a big thing, especially now. So seeing that you guys both, you have, Keating, you have a fifth quarter, and then Mike, you own your management company. Can you guys just talk a bit about those? Like, what is it like running those?
Man, it's a lot. Like yesterday, I had to spend like, because I have 3 people signed to me on the publishing end, and I have like 5 people signed to me as a manager, and so it's like I have to be accessible to everybody because it's like on the management side, it's like I'm dealing with your day-to-day schedule. So you need to know like I'm I'm quarterbacking the play. So I'm telling you like where you need to be, where the bag's at, how you need to present yourself, talk like what I'm saying, just how to handle all these individual situations day to day. And then I need to be there to answer questions that they might have. Like, yo, I'm at the right building. What about this? Yo, somebody sent me this. How does this look? Reviewing it's just like so much stuff that I need to be like on point for and on my P's and Q's. And then it's like on the publishing end, it's like people don't understand like how slow publishing money is. Like I have like 3 clients. One of them, the one that has like the bigger songs like 21 Savage and stuff, like he's straight on money and everything, so he doesn't hit me. But the other guy is like I don't know what they're going through, but it's like they're hitting my phone every month like where's my money? Where's my money? Where's my money? I'm like, bro, this takes a year. Like ain't no, it's not a quick bag like distro is distro. You know what I'm saying? You drop a song today, you might have your money sometimes as quick as next month, depending on who you're with. Sometimes it'll take about 3 months. It just really depends on who you are. But for most part, like you can expect 3 months minimum, but you're gonna have a check and it's gonna be a fat ass check. And once that comes in, like you're gonna keep getting back pay for your catalog as you continue to put out music. So you're gonna start getting checks every month. And on the distro side, depending on how well you do, it's like $10,000, $15,000 a month. And that's not even as like a big artist. That's as a small like what I'm saying? That's somebody who's doing 500,000 monthly listeners. And that doesn't necessarily mean 500,000 people. That just means like so a couple people have your song on replay in the shower, on the shower playlist or whatever. So it's like I have to do like a lot of quick math in my head. I have to be on my P's and Q's and accessible to people. I have to like deal with a lot of nonsense too, because what I'm saying, like in music industry, sometimes people want to be cool and do certain things. I'm just like, bro, like is this really you? Is this how you want to present yourself? Like, are you trying to be like everybody else who, so we feel like destroys the culture, or do you want to be one of those people that makes a change that's different? Like ultimately, like you are who people are gonna try to be like. So how do you want people to be? And it's like this, like I'm always having to like you know what I'm saying, let people know, like, because a lot of these artists, producers, like, they don't really understand the impact they have on our youth. Like, they just feel like, man, I'm doing me. They're doing the stuff that they see people on TV. But I'm like, you and I both know that's not real life. We both know, like, this isn't how people act. We both know this isn't how you act. And so it's like letting people know, like, it's okay to be you. But yeah, it's a that's kind of like my day. I'm like I have to be like a coach, mentor, slash chess player at all times because I have to think of these moves. I got to be a accountant. I got to be a lawyer. It's like you have to wear like so many different hats running my business, but it's like all these hats are different positions I had in my internships. So it's just like it's the different positions I had in my internships, and then it's like the same concept as you were saying earlier with school is like, you know what I'm saying? Like you have your music, or I think the therapist, she was saying with school, it's like you have your music classes, then you have your regular class, like accounting and stuff. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm bringing that into my job. It's like, all right, I'm literally just have to listen to music for the next 2 hours. All right, now I got to do statements. I got to issue checks. I got to send out invoices. So it's like, it's really everything I did in school, kind of. It's just basically getting paid for what I was doing at my internships now.
So as far as being an entrepreneur, like I'm not gonna lie, it's scary. Like especially in like this generation where like everyone's kind of trying to be like an entrepreneur. It's cool. Um, like I said, it's a scary feeling because like then you start getting like the feeling of rejection, and it's like, okay, what if I don't? Like, what if I don't do good? What if like people think it's corny? Like, what if like there's always like a what if going on in your head. But the thing is, you have to understand that that's okay, and those are normal feelings because it's like you just want the best for yourself. Um, and I think the thing that I always use is 90% of companies always fail within the first year. So if you can make it past the first year, you're already in 10% of the companies that could possibly make it. And then like I'm a really impulsive like type of person, and I don't like settling for anything. And I just kind of always found myself in situations where like there were better musicians out there that I knew than musicians that I was gigging with, or musicians that I was doing recording sessions with, or musicians that I was doing anything with. And I'm like, I can't keep being in situations like this. Like, how can I bridge that gap? How can I like fix this and make it like a little bit more balanced? And it's not even like, it's not a bad thing because, like I said, these musicians that aren't as good as like the collegiate musicians aren't necessarily, doing anything better per se, but it's just more so they have multiple talents. Um, but I just kind of felt like I wasn't getting like that information in school. Um, and my why kind of outweighed like my fear. And like that's something that people don't realize either. Like you have to have a why. And when it comes to starting like these companies, like your why is key. Because if you can make $0 today and you can have a multi-billion-dollar company, but your why needs to be consistent, regardless of the money that you make or regardless of the money that you lose. And I think that goes back to what Mike was saying, as far as like even some artists, like they get into situations where it's like they start acting a certain way, they start doing certain things that's not really in their personality because the money made them change their mind. And it's not necessarily that the money changed their mind, but it's more so they didn't have a why to begin with. That's why you see artists like J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar are like these staple artists because their why is so consistent regardless of how much money they make. And I think that when it comes to like me starting this company, like my why is so strong that like regardless of how much money I make or lose or whatever, what have you, as long as I'm fulfilling the why is like a it's like a driving factor for me. So yeah, like I'll go to school, like I'll do this, I'll do that, like I'll make sure you get on even if I'm losing money. I'll make sure you get on even if we making double the money. Like whatever we need to do to help you is my why. And I think that with future entrepreneurs, as long as you have like a why, you'll be set.
Thank you for that. I really like what you had to say about, your why, about how it needs to be consistent. And thank you, Mike, for also sharing. Right now, I will open the floor for questions from the audience. Does anyone? I think we have one in the chat. Oh, Kasha, you can go ahead.
Hi. My question was, if there's something you could have told yourself, like when you kind of like first started doing this, like you could go back in time and tell yourself this, what would it have been?
And I would have told myself like, don't get caught up on in what it looks like, because a lot of people like they look at the music industry and they see, you know what I'm saying, like the cars, clothes, women, all of that, and it's just like there's no financial literacy. Like a lot of these people go broke. I'm realizing like an artist's lifespan is only 3 to 5 years. And after that, you know what I'm saying? Like the only money they're getting is like show money. And like times like this where you're not doing shows, like you're really hurting. So I realized like, you know what I'm saying, like now being in it that, you know what I'm saying, like even these big executives we look up to, like a very minimal portion of Jay-Z's income is actually from music. Same with Diddy. They don't make much money off music. Same with Kanye. Like these people don't make much money off music. Their money is in other things. So I'm realizing now that it's like, yo, if you really want to like be successful in this game, it's like you need to be able to do some shit completely outside of music. Like whether it be like a tech thing or you know what I'm saying, like Dr. Dre. There's a lot of people doing stuff in the tech field. Um, there's people I'm talking to now who's telling me like they took jobs at Coke, they took jobs at these corporate companies like in between to take care of themselves. So it's just like if I, you know what I'm saying, if I could talk to a younger me, it's just like, yo, don't get caught up in all that. Like, you feel me? Like if they had to do it strictly off music, everything would look a lot different. Um, a part of me would say also to pick up a secondary skill. Like being in the Air Force, I have a secondary skill, but now I realize like my job is to fix airplanes, and you know what I'm saying, planes ain't really they're laying off people crazy at the airport. I have a lot of friends that lost their jobs, and it's like, dang, I thought airplanes would never like be out of business, but it, you know what I'm saying, it's crazy. So I would say like also like, you know what I'm saying, focus on a skill that's like just like it's always gonna be there. Like legitimately always gonna be there. Like something like technology or I don't know, medical. Because the Air Force you can really have whatever. But I would just tell myself like don't get caught up in what everything looks like and then get a solid secondary skill.
So something that I wish I would have told myself earlier was to do it sooner. Like I felt like when I was younger, like I did let like my fear kind of hold me back because I've had the idea for at least 4 or 5 years, and I just never did it. Like I was always scared. Like I was always like, like what if this fails? Like what if it sucks? Or what if like people don't back me up? What if nobody liked the idea? What if it's corny? Um, I wish I would have started sooner. Granted, the hit from COVID probably would have been a lot deeper, but I think the passions would have been a lot stronger. Um, and even going back to what Mike's saying, even picking up a second skill, like right now I work at Apple. So like tech wise, like I'm damn near could build a computer at this point. uh, but even from that standpoint, when it comes time to like start doing like app development, like I already know most of the protocol. When it comes time to doing like websites, like I already know like almost everything. When it comes to like the app store or like making sure that the app works for iPhone or anything like that, like I had that skill to be able to kind of work in that field a little bit more. Um, but yeah, just to answer your question, I wish I would have started sooner. I wish I would have told myself to start sooner.
All right, so I did see one question in the chat. She asked, how do you handle rejection?
Um, I don't know. Like, I don't necessarily see it as rejection. Like, because most of the time, like I said, I'm very intentional about when I go to. So it's like 9 times out of 10, I land the internship. I get the relationship. Like, you know what I'm saying? 9 times out of 10 things really go my way. And the 1 time out of 10 that it doesn't, I'm gonna like analyze. I'm not gonna get in my head and be like, oh man, I'm finna come up and then I'm finna show you what's up. Like, nah, that's corny. Like, you know what I'm saying? I get rejected. It's like, all right, cool. Let me see why. Like, I'm gonna ask you directly, like, why? Like, if it, whether it be a job or like I try to network with somebody and they're like, I'm straight, bro. Like, you not, you know where I am. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if it's a job, it's like, all right, I'm gonna ask the hiring director directly, like, yo, why did I get hired? And they're like, oh, well, actually, I'm glad you asked. Boom, 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 boom. I'm like, all right, cool. Now next time I know what's up. Or, you know what I'm saying, if it's just like a cocky exec and I'm like trying to introduce myself to him and get to know him, they're just like, I'm good, whatever. I'm just like, it's cool. Like, cause one thing I've noticed is like people who are really doing well and really successful, like they're just givers. Like they're trying to put people on, they're trying to find a way to help you out. So I realized like those people who like have that negative vibe and negative energy and like, you know what I'm saying, push you away, it's like they're not really valuable to begin with. Like people who really create value, like they're not on that. And you can really feel the energy. Like once you know what to look for, like the distinction is clear. So it's kind of like I embrace rejection as like as game, as advice, like as like, you know what I'm saying? If it was for me, like it been for me, I would have had it. And if it walks away from me, like there's something better in store. And if and when something better in store might just be the lesson that I learned from that, because that lesson from that rejection might take me to that yes I'm searching for. So that's how I treat rejection. I don't really let it go to my heart.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Like, you can't let rejection like get to you. And I mean, granted, like, no one is saying that rejection like feels good. You know, like it's almost supposed to hurt, especially if it's something that you thought that like you was a shoe in and you thought that you were going to do good, and then you get told no. Um, so yeah, like it's going to hurt, but you have to also understand that like sometimes your greatest strengths come from like your lowest moments. Like I was talking to my friend about it, and like I'm not even like a fan of like Adele, but like her best album was when she was going through that breakup, you know. Um, so yeah, I see everybody. Yeah, it's her best album. So like the thing is, you have to like I don't want to say embrace the pain, but you have to take it as it is and understand what you're feeling. And like I said, I sometimes when you ask, they may not give you the answer you're looking for. They may not even respond to you. But if they do give you an answer, like take it, learn from it, and use that and grow from it. But if it's one of those type of cocky people that's not really giving you anything, the best thing you could do is work on your craft. Because like once you're hurt, like you're not really gonna be focused on anything else but the things that you like to do. And that gives you like that isolation, that time that you may have needed that you may not have been giving yourself before you did that interview, before you got that gig. So even if you get rejected, like look at that as okay, this is like the universe a way of saying, I'm tired of you trying to scapegoat your way out. You need to spend time on this. Um, so yeah, like Mike said, don't let it get to your head and look at it as an opportunity to build on yourself.
Yeah, those were really great responses. So, would you guys have any advice for someone who's still like trying to figure out what exactly they want to do in life?
Yeah, try everything. Like I didn't know what I wanted to do in the music industry. That was another reason why I was just like, all right, I'm gonna just do something different at every one of these. And then like I kind of got placed into like the manager role. And I was like, you know what? I like this because I can do this my way. Like no one can tell me how to be a manager. Like I go about it my own way because everybody needs their own individualized way of being managed. So it's like I encourage people to try everything. You know what I'm saying? Like outside of music, like I fix airplanes. You know, I do stock investments. I box. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and you never know, like, if you've never been exposed to something, you don't know if you like it or not. So it's just like, I encourage people to try everything, like read books. Like, if something makes you smile when you think about it, like, you know what I'm saying, give it a little bit of your time, see what happens. And that's one thing that you can use as a confirmation. Like, if you give a little bit of your time to something and you see a lot of success from the very little you gave to it, it's like, oh man, this might be what I'm meant to do. This might be my calling. But if you don't take a chance, if you don't seek it, you'll never find it. So I say try a lot of things.
Yeah. Pre-COVID, I would say be active on campus. Because a lot of times, like you'll find that some of the campus activities are things that you really enjoy or that you're really good at, and you can find a passion in it. But since we're in this situation, the best thing I would say is almost like what Mike said, is to try everything. Um, Whether it be that you love performing, but there's not really like a guaranteed way of doing it. Like I've seen people do YouTube videos of just them practicing or using like the acapella app and do like the voicing. Like little stuff like that could get you recording sessions, like out of nowhere. Like someone pop up on your page and was like, "Hey, like I saw you do acapella stuff." Like especially like rappers, they don't know about a euphonium, like unless they were in band. Like they know trumpet, trombone, tuba, drum set, guitar. That's kind of it. French horn, they don't know anything about. So if you're saying here like on these intricate instruments, let's say like bass clarinet or like we could say out bari sax or anything like that, like you showing that you can play and that you can showcase that you're using your instrument in a way that where people have never heard, you can inspire somebody else. Someone else could look at that and be like, dang, I never knew that that was even an instrument, or I never knew that that was a thing. So yeah, like try different things, and then once you try something else, try to find different ways to showcase it, so that way someone else can see that and be like, yo, like that's cool. So it goes hand in hand with the networking thing.
Definitely. So does anyone else have any questions before we wrap up? No. All right. So that's the end of this discussion, this panel discussion. I really want to thank Kadeem and Mike for taking time out to participate. I definitely learned a lot. I was writing down some notes. So thank you guys so much. Chris, do you want to close?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everyone. My name is Chris Washington. I am the current president of the New Alpha chapter of Kappa Kappa Psi here at Georgia State University. I want to thank Kadeem, Mike, and Haley for all coming out, sharing lots of wisdom with us today. Special thank you to Miss Ashley Ferguson for moderating this and getting everything together. It was amazing. We will definitely be doing more of these in the future, so stay tuned. You can find us on Instagram at newalpha_KK Psi, on Facebook at Kappa Kappa Psi New Alpha Chapter, or you can follow us or go to our website, which is newalphakkpsi.com. That is all for me.
Okay. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for having me. Take care.
You too.